What if money was nothing more than an illusion? What if the wealth you hold in your bank account, your wallet, or even your investments was nothing more than an elaborate illusion? Imagine discovering that the concept of money, the foundation of economies, societies, and power, was built on nothing more than trust and belief. Long before paper notes and digital transactions ruled the world, wealth was measured in tangible objects. Heavy coins of gold, silver rings, and leather pouches clinking with denarii. But even back then, the illusion had already begun. In 600 BC, King Alyattes of Lydia performed a subtle trick. He minted coins that weren't purely gold or silver, but were mixed with cheaper metals like copper. The value stamped on the coin was greater than the actual metal inside. The people believed in this deception, and the economy flourished. The illusion was born. Wealth became perception. From salt slabs in Africa to shells in Asia, cultures have always relied on the belief that certain objects held value. Yet the power behind these objects wasn't intrinsic. It was psychological. Control the object and you control the wealth. But the more intangible wealth became, the greater the risk for those who trusted the illusion. By the 11th century, Chinese merchants transformed this illusion once again by using paper promissory notes. What began as a tool for convenience soon became a dangerous illusion. The emperor, seeking economic control, printed more notes than his reserves could support. The result was catastrophic. Inflation ravaged the economy, proving that paper alone was powerless without trust behind it. Centuries later, John Law's France fell into the same trap. Law convinced King Louis XV to print money backed not by gold, but by public belief. The illusion held for a while. As paper flooded the market, wealth seemed to rise, until it collapsed overnight. Thousands went bankrupt, all because their wealth had never really existed. Fast forward to the 20th century. The United States abandoned the gold standard in 1971. Now, money's value depended entirely on faith. During the COVID-19 pandemic, trillions of dollars were digitally created. Yet people felt wealthier without realizing their purchasing power was silently declining. The illusion grew stronger than ever. Inflation is the whisper in the background that steadily erodes the value of wealth. Whether through careless money printing or rising prices, inflation gnaws away at what people believe they own. In 1920s Germany, the Weimar Republic printed money to pay off war debts, and in doing so, reduced its own currency to worthlessness. Wheelbarrows filled with cash couldn't buy a loaf of bread. The illusion collapsed, and with it, trust in the entire financial system. More recently, Zimbabwe and Venezuela repeated this mistake, creating trillion-dollar bills that couldn't buy basic groceries. Even in the United States, the inflation surge following COVID-19 spending forced families to spend more on everyday essentials, not because things became more valuable, but because the illusion of wealth stretched too thin. Wealth today is no longer defined by what you own. It's defined by what you owe. Debt has become a tool of control, turning wealth into a numbers game manipulated by the powerful. In 15th century Italy, the Medici family controlled entire kingdoms not through gold, but through credit. By controlling the illusion of debt, they grew wealthier than kings. Today, modern finance uses the same trick. Credit cards, mortgages, and student loans place families in cycles of endless repayment. The more you owe, the greater the illusion that your possessions are yours, when in truth, they belong to those who own the debt. Modern wealth exists primarily in the form of numbers. Stocks rise and fall not because of physical value, but because of belief. Cryptocurrency, once hailed as the ultimate financial revolution, proved to be yet another illusion. Investors poured billions into digital coins, only to watch them vanish when confidence wavered. Wealth today exists in the abstract: portfolios, shares, and credit ratings. These numbers can vanish faster than they appeared, leaving behind nothing more than the cold realization that they were never truly there. Trust is the cornerstone of money's illusion. When trust fails, economies can crumble overnight. In 1930, New York's Bank of United States collapsed not because it lacked resources, but because fear spread faster than reason. Thousands of citizens demanded their savings, triggering a chain reaction that devastated the economy. The same happened in 2008, when the global financial crisis shattered confidence in investment banks. Billions in perceived wealth evaporated as panicked investors pulled out. Even digital currencies, designed to be trust-free systems, collapsed when exchanges fell, proving that even in decentralized systems, belief drives value. If money is an illusion, what is true wealth? The answer lies in tangible assets, skills, and stability. Gold, property, and essential resources retain value when illusions collapse. Skills, the ability to create, build, and adapt, are forms of wealth no economic crisis can erase. The wealthy know this. They don't hoard cash. They convert their earnings into assets that resist inflation. They diversify investments, understanding that illusions can shatter with little warning. Money manipulates human psychology. Fear of loss, instant gratification, and the desire for status keep people trapped in financial cycles. The wealth illusion thrives when people are encouraged to spend recklessly, measure success by possessions, and avoid questioning the systems around them. Yet those who master emotional control, delaying gratification, resisting panic, and understanding long-term growth are the ones who thrive. The wealthy manipulate the illusion in their favor. By leveraging debt, controlling assets, and shaping public perception, they profit from economic instability. As wealth clusters in fewer hands, those with less are left vulnerable to inflation, rising costs, and financial instability. The illusion is not just financial, it's social. The powerful know that fear and uncertainty force people to trust flawed systems, locking them in cycles of debt and diminishing returns. What if the secret to surviving economic chaos isn't wealth itself, but understanding that wealth is an illusion? To break free, one must invest in tangible assets like property and precious metals. Develop adaptable skills that remain valuable in changing markets. Question financial trends and resist speculative bubbles. Build meaningful relationships, the greatest form of social capital. Because when the illusion of money inevitably crumbles, those who understand its fragility will remain standing. Not because they hoarded wealth, but because they built something real. In a world where wealth is merely an idea, the greatest power lies in those who see through the illusion and choose to build something that lasts.